delighted to welcome to the studio my old mucker, Michael Cole, former royal correspondent. Good morning to you, sir. You're going to have a busy week ahead, aren't you, with the coronation?
Yes, but before I say anything else, I'm going to say happy birthday, Princess Charlotte, 8 years old, and happy birthday, Princess Julia, not 8 years old.
Judging 8 years old and a bit, judging by the producer's face that you put him up to that. There'll be penalties later.
I just did research. I looked in the Times birthdays, and of course, all the celebrated people are in the Times birthdays, and there you are. How could I not know?
Should we talk about the coronation?
Of course.
Michael, right.
The greatest show on earth.
Look, we do a good show. We do, look.
You do a great show. I'm talking about the coronation.
I knew this would go wrong.
Okay, you're in charge.
Right, so we've got the big event is this Saturday, of course, and the big concert on the Sunday. Lots of preparations going towards this. We're getting a sort of drip of what's going to be happening in the ceremony and how long it's going to be and who's going to be there. But what's fascinating this weekend is these polls that we've got now talking about how much the public will support the monarchy. Now, there was massive support, love and respect and gratitude for the Queen for her service over those 70 years. And, of course, a lot of people don't feel the same way about the King. He's been more controversial, more political, and of course, divorces and you name it haven't gone well. But it's fascinating. The latest poll is showing that actually, if there were a referendum held tomorrow, Britain would decisively back keeping the monarchy. However, 73% said they do think the royal family need to modernise to have a chance of surviving. Do you agree?
Well, I think King Charles is doing that. He wants a slimmed down royal family. He wants a slimmed down coronation. He's going to get that. And those figures, which you mention, I mean, every politician in the free world would die for figures this high, to be honest with you.
They take half that
and
now,
even those who his popularity, the King's popularity ratings well over 50%, but those who think he would be a good king, even higher, 64%. And
but a lot of it is based on what age people are. The older people are, the more support there is. There's for the royal family a troublingly low level of support in sort of under 25s.
Yeah, because...
Would you expect that, though?
No, people get wisdom as they grow older, when they realise the virtue of it all. Because actually, living in a constitutional monarchy, which we do, has tremendous benefits. It's one of our greatest defences against extremism and dictatorship that there could possibly be.
And having, I suppose, also... I mean, again, I completely understand this idea that you've got a head of state who is above the political fray, which is what I think Prince Charles... was a problem, because King Charles needs to be above the political fray. We never knew anything that the Queen thought about anything. We've had some second-hand reports about what she said to Nick Clegg about Brexit. Really, that we don't have anything.
There's no smoking gun ever.
No, but that's the thing. I mean, she stuck to that, and she realised how important that was. And you see what happens in America when you've got a head of state and it's so politicised as opposed to a head of government. So that we don't have that issue.
No, exactly. I covered Watergate. Okay, 74. 73, 74.
I mean, you are 105.
Oh, well, I am. But let me just say, for 18 months, America was paralysed because the head of state, the fount of all honours, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, was a crook. And the Canadians looked down from above their parallel and said, thank goodness our head of state is not another mouldy, crooked politician. There were two things that kept Canada together: the bilingual Queen, who spoke extremely good French, although she never went to school, and the Canadian National Railway, which held together this second biggest
I think we're
nation
digressing.
on earth.
Let's talk about that big row over the weekend about swearing allegiance. As part of this this ceremony, the Archbishop of Canterbury is going to call on people, if they wish, to swear allegiance. Now, this got translated in press releases and then into the headlines. Basically, we were all going to be told to swear allegiance to the King. Absolutely nothing of the sort.
Absolutely. This is a free country. That's the great thing about it, or one of the great things about it. It was an invitation. It was like an invitation to a wedding or a dance, and people can do it. And a lot of people will do it. Maybe not the sneering metropolitan elite. They will think it's... No, I don't mean you at all. I know that you're a very, very sensible person and a very respectable person. I've known you for all these years, and I still like you, after all this time.
Happy birthday.
No. The thing is this. There are a lot of people who'll be at home and they will... they'll want to take part. And I think this is quite clever by the king.
It's coming together, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing. Now, there's talk about there's only 3,000 odd street parties that have been booked now, and there's a lot less than, say, for the Platinum Jubilee. But come on, it's May, not June, and therefore you can't guarantee the weather. And it looks like the weather's going to be rotten for much of the country.
It poured with rain throughout June the 2nd, 1953.
Exactly.
And I was 10 years old at the time, and I remember it vividly. Julia, this is a very different country from it was then. It was 99% white in those days. We'd come through the war. We'd had 5 years of socialist austerity. People felt, rationing.
Why is the white thing relevant?
Well, because this is what the king is trying to do. Since that time, the country has changed out of all recognition. And London is a wonderful example of an integrated society where every person from around the world can come and fit in. And quite clearly, his fingerprints are all over this because coronations have changed over the centuries.
So this whole thing about being defender of all the faiths,
but also involving everybody from every major world religion and from all parts of the country and from every ethnic grouping.
And yet he is. This is a religious ceremony. It's taking place not in Parliament.
It's an Anglican cemetery.
It's an Anglican ceremony. But he's the head of the Church of England in an established church. So
yes, of course
a lot of people have got a big issue with this, that you wouldn't expect the same in any other country, whether it was a dominant Muslim country or Sikh or Jewish, whatever country it was, you would not expect that they would do that. Why do we have to do that in this country?
Well, because the established church is the Protestant church, and one can argue for the last 550 years it hasn't done bad by us. We've done rather well with this. But it is inclusive, and the Queen made a speech not long before she died saying that the Church of England was there to protect all the other religions within the country. That's essentially what she said. Okay. And the King is actually trying to be as inclusive as possible. Imagine the criticism there would be if he didn't. Now that would be tremendous, wouldn't it?
From the usual suspects who don't like him anyway. Let me talk about we talk about street parties, people having parties. I think an awful lot of people, frankly, if the weather was nice, they would be out and about having community events. Yeah. But you don't bother booking it because I'm sorry, if my council if they could fix a pothole in the street rather than worrying about whether or not we put some bunting up, for goodness sake.
A very good point.
We've got this big concert at Windsor Castle. I have to say, I do worry these things are going to be sort of excruciating. But they've got to take that. They've got Lionel Richie, the Adeles, the Ed Sheerans, all away on tour, too busy. But they got Antodec.
Jeremy Kyle lives there. He's leaving town.
Exactly. Yeah, but they told him to leave. We want him over here. But Antodec are going to be hosting it now. They're the best in the business. Yeah. They need to make that a big success. It can't be a damp squib. But what if it is just pouring down all weekend?
Well, the British will put on their Pack-a-Macs and their bits of plastic, and they'll sit there.
Because we're British.
And, of course, the Prince of Wales is going to make a speech from the stage in praise of his father. And we all remember, and he did bring the house down, the 50th anniversary concert at Buckingham Palace. The present king, then Prince of Wales, said, "Your Majesty, Mummy." Do you remember?
I don't like grown men saying mummy. I think it's really creepy.
Well, it was for effect. It was for effect.
Yeah, but it's because what do you make in terms of the invite list? I mean, particularly Harry's going to be here, flying visit, quite literally, getting on a private jet, leaving 24 hours later, going back to his
Julia,
son
you
Archie's birthday.
Usually ask the real question. The real question is who's going to sit next to him, because other members of the royal family might not wish to.
I think he's going to be put further back to... Do you understand that he and William are not going to speak?
He's not going to be put behind a pillar. If you want me to speculate, I'm going to speculate on TalkTV.
Put him next to the loo.
He'll be sitting between Princesses Eugenie and Beatrice. Eugenie introduced him originally to Meghan Markle, and let's face it, those two princesses have had their own favourite. They've had pariah parents. First of all they had Fergie, and then Prince Andrew. He walks around with his own permanent dark cloud over his head. So they're used to looking after people who are on the outside for the moment, and I'm quite sure it will all go off very well. He will not play a part in the procession. He will not be on the balcony, and he's dashing back to have birthday with his 4-year-old son, Prince Archie.
But the key thing is that he mustn't overshadow what is happening in terms of the King and indeed Prince William as well.
Of course not. And that day, May the 6th, is a huge day of destiny, because on May the 6th, 1910, the King's great-great-grandfather, King Edward VII, died. And just before he died, Queen Alexandra allowed his mistress-in-chief to come in to see him, and she left the palace in tears, of course. The great-great-granddaughter of that mistress is Camilla Shand, and she will be crowned Queen Camilla on Saturday.
Fascinating stuff. Michael Cole, always a pleasure.
Couldn't make it up.
I couldn't.